Well, good morning. It's Jimmie from Stuart Arts, and it's a beautiful day here in South Florida. 66 degrees, light breeze. I've got the doors open on the shop. I'm getting a little bit of cross breeze through the shop, airing it out. It's going to be a gorgeous day. Today we're going to talk about the Harbor Freight mini lathe, which is similar to a lot of other mini lathes that are produced in China. I think they're marketed under several different names. This is a Central Machinery 7 by 12 inch model 93799. So I'd just like to spend the next few minutes and talk through a few things that I've observed about the Harbor Freight mini lathe and some of the tips that I have for making the use of this tool more efficient and more pleasurable. Here are a few of the things that I've made with this mini lathe. Lots of little brass fittings. These are for steam engine parts and also for my automata projects. Lots of little brass parts. I mainly machine brass and aluminum, which the lathe is very capable of handling. I make a little knives. I haven't done any in a while, but I did the finials for these knives here and several others. So I tend to do small parts and I tend to use soft materials. I have machined some steel on this mini lathe and have not had any problems with that, but you certainly have to take it easy when you're using it. I'll start with the chuck itself. This chuck is really very limited in what you can do with it. One of the reasons I bought this machine is that I wanted to get into doing steam engines, and I have some good brass sections here that really are too big to try to cut on my little Unimat over here. So I was looking forward to getting this so that I could chuck this up and do some facing work on it and so forth. Well, lo and behold, the 3-jaw chuck that's supplied with the lathe will only open up to about 1 1/8 as a usable diameter. Now you can chuck larger things that already have a bore, hollow items, pipe, and whatnot to larger sizes. But if you want to do a solid piece, you'll need to come up with another way to hold that, or get a different chuck. So I'll probably be doing that down the road. Oh yes, and by the way, the jaws are not reversible on this. I took this thing apart to reverse it. I thought, well, I get the larger sizes by reversing the chucks, but lo and behold, these jaws will not reverse. Tool post is set at an odd height. The tool post does not work with 1/4 inch, 5/16 or 3/8. They're all either too high or too low, and so to get this thing on the center of what your work is, you end up having to do a little shim. I had this little piece of steel plate, and it still isn't quite right. It's just a skosh low, but it's good enough for the kind of stuff that I do. So I've just been kind of limping along with that. So an upgrade I plan to do is I will get the quick change tool post, and I've been shopping for those, and I'm thinking about just getting one of the inexpensive ones as a starter. They're only about 35 bucks or so, and I think they'll make my life a lot easier, and they'll really improve the alignment of the cutting tool to the work. What else? Comment on the tailstock locking device. You know, it's just a nut, and I think there's a T-nut down below, and there's a lot of people that don't like having to put a wrench on this, and I don't either, but it's not that big of a problem. You know, it's only a flat or so. You turn this nut to tighten it, and it can get to be, you know, a little bit awkward here when you've got the tailstock close up to the chuck here, but you know, the wrench fits in there good enough to be able to do what you need to do. So I don't find it to be worth the time it'll take to upgrade this. You know, there's some machining that has to be done on the tailstock to put the locking mechanism on there. So I don't choose to go after that. It's interesting to me when I watch folks playing with this lathe. I see that quite often this chuck shield here, which has an interlock device, you know, the lathe cannot operate as long as that shield is open. It's amazing to me how many people have removed this shield altogether, and I just don't think I can do that from a safety standpoint. I did some other videos about problems I've had with my little Unimat, where I was throwing Tommy bars out of the chuck there. I kept forgetting to remove the Tommy bars, and I turned the lathe on, and then the Tommy bar would eject and go across the room. And so I just decided that this little T-bar right here, I don't need that to be ejected at me, at 500 RPM or whatever. So I elected to leave this thing on here. But I will say that it does interfere a bit with your work close up to the chuck. And so you couldn't get the tool post all the way up to the chuck. And that probably was purposeful in the design of the shield here. But I work quite close to the chuck with the small parts that I'm making. So what I did is I just put this on the bandsaw. This is just an acrylic sheet here. And I just coped out an inch or so, and it gives me all the clearance that I need now so that the tool can go very close to the chuck. I'm taking a risk there. I suppose if I crash the tool post, into the chuck, I'll probably kill the gear train in this thing. But that's a risk that I'm willing to take. I call myself the meatball machinist. None of the stuff that I showed you over here is what I would call precision machining stuff. And I know that a lot of you do precision machining, and you really need to have excellent run out and so forth. Now, I have not even bothered to meter this thing, but I've seen lots of videos where guys are determining the accuracy and the run out and so forth on this. But I find the chuck to be reasonably well centered here on this machine, and I know a lot of folks go through the project where you put up the upgraded bearings in here to try to, I think it's to improve the run out on the machine. I'm not sure what all, maybe reduce vibration. But I don't see myself needing to do that. The machine's been just perfectly satisfactory for the kinds of things that I'm doing with it. Oh, by the way, just another point on the tool post. The tool set that Harbor Freight says is for the mini lathe will not put you at the correct elevation for this. I can't remember what size it is. I'm thinking it's a 5/16, but it's not at center on your work. I found that for this particular post, I use 1/4 inch tools, and I shim those to get it to the approximate correct height. The lathe is supplied with a live center, and that's got a Morse 2 taper on it. So if you want to do end drilling and so forth, which of course is an essential operation, you will need to buy a chuck. I bought this one off eBay. I think it was 17 bucks or something like that. And it had, the shank on it was about 2 inches longer than what you see. And when I put it into the tailstock, it was really too long. It wouldn't seat in there. So one of the first jobs I did with this lathe is I chucked this thing up, and I cut off about 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so that this thing will properly fit. So now it fits, and it works well, and gives pretty good service. The tray is maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch off of the surface of the table. You have some rubber feet under here that keep the lathe from moving around. And so it is elevated, and it's like a tool magnet. You put your little tool down here, and the next thing you know, it's under there. So I was constantly having to take a stick to get my stuff out of there. So I just took this little piece of 3/4 inch wood, and I put that under there, and that keeps stuff from going under there. The lathe does come with the Allen keys that you need. Everything is it's all metric cap screws, and so you'll need an Allen key set for this. And so it does have the correct Allen keys, but you put these black keys on your black tray, and I end up searching all over the place for them. So I got this thing. I don't remember where it came from, but I think I paid about $4 for this, and it's got all the metric sizes that you need. So this is something that I recommend that you go ahead and invest in, and I probably get rid of this guy right here. Another thing, really a dumb tip, but simple. These wrenches, these are the common wrenches that you'll use. They do come with the lathe, and just to keep them nice and handy, I have a few of these neodymium, I don't know how to pronounce that, magnets, and they'll hold the wrenches here just fine. So it's always here right where I need it, And same thing with the chuck key here. I just put my little magnet on there, and chuck key is always right there when I need it. There's a lot of folks that'll tell you all about the features of this thing, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But boy, I'll tell you what, I really like this little variable speed control on this thing. I've got a wood lathe over here in the corner, and that's got belts, and it's just kind of a hassle to change the speeds on that, but I sure do love the variable speed drive, and I don't think I'll ever buy a lathe again that doesn't have that feature. And you know, I never take it out of this. You can put this in a higher speed range, but I tend to use the 0 to 1100 RPM setting on this. I've never changed it since I got it out of the box, and I think that's perfectly adequate for brass and aluminum and so forth. I've had real good success with that, and you can slow it down a little bit for your steels and whatnot. And then the thing will run very, very slow. You can see that. That's probably maybe 1 RPM, something like that. And so I'll use this thing for tapping. I'll put the work in there, and I'll put my tap right in the chuck, and I'll run it right up into the piece, and that's worked very well. So the controls on this thing are very nice. When I got this thing out of the box, I adjusted the gibs. They were just a little bit loose, and I adjusted them one time, and then about 3 or 4 months later, I noticed that my tool post had a little bit of wiggle to it, maybe 3 or 4 thousandths, I don't know. And so you just loosen these little nuts here, and just take it very, just tighten it in, and then just make it to where it slides, but without a lot of friction. And so I've only had to adjust this thing one time. And so I know folks have complained about the gibs on this, but I don't intend to make a project out of doing anything further with those. Once again, for the kind of work that I do, I don't really need high degree of precision, so they're perfectly adequate for my purposes. I wanted to acknowledge 2 YouTubers out there that have really provided me with a lot of great information and really have put a lot of energy into making their machines really hum. Dave M., really a perfectionist, and he has rebuilt his machine and done everything that's possible to do to him. So his videos are an excellent source of information on the mini lathe. And the other guy is Steve. He's Titanium 15160. He used to go by, I believe, Steve Jordan, but he's changed his handle. And this guy is a mechanical genius. I so enjoy his videos. He's so clever. But he has also done just about everything you can think of to these mini lathes. So if you really want to get into the details of these things and the upgrades that can be done and problems that you can run into, these are excellent sources. And I just wanted to personally thank you guys for putting those videos out there.